Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take a grouper fish tonight. Now, this particular poached fish could be done with grouper, it could be done with halibut, it could be done with a monkfish. But what you want is you want a slice of fish that's at least maybe 2 inches thick, okay? 1.5, 2, 2.5, like that. Because we're going to be poaching it. And poaching, unlike cooking in the oven, really lets all the juices, all the flavors go right inside the fish. If you do it in the oven, sometimes fish is too dried out. That's why when I bake fish, I often add a little bit of water to the pan as well. The ingredients are going to be the grouper. We've got a pound of grouper. We've got 2 small tomatoes, 2 shallots. We've got some fresh thyme. Now, if you don't have fresh thyme on hand, you can also use the spiced thyme, salt and pepper, a little bit of butter. You're going to need some Sauvignon Blanc. This can be cooking wine, but Sauvignon Blanc it would be the best flavor. And you're going to need either vegetable stock or fish stock. Some common questions about poaching fish. One is, how long do you poach for? And a general rule of thumb is you poach for 8 minutes per inch of fish. So if you have a 2-inch piece of fish, that's going to be 16 minutes, okay? The other question is how much liquid you put in the pan. And what you want to do is you want to get the pan about halfway full of liquid. So the liquid comes up halfway on the fish, and then you're going to cover it, and that's where the poaching begins. The first part of the process is to put a little bit of butter into the pan. What we're going to use the butter for is we're going to get the butter hot enough that the shallots will start to do their thing, cooking and adding flavor. The shallots go in first because what they're going to do is the shallots are actually going to give a little bed for the fish to sit on. This bed keeps the fish rised up above the bottom of the pan and it prevents it from scorching. So we get all that in there. Now as that's starting to warm up, we're going to make what's called a cartouche. The important thing about poaching is that you need to really cover the pan because the steam is going to be what's going to cook the fish. So now I have a glass lid here, so I could simply use this glass lid for poaching. If you don't have a glass lid and you want to have a little more control, you can make what's called a cartouche. So if you have some parchment paper, you take out a square of parchment paper, and you take that square and you simply fold it in half. So I folded my parchment paper in half. I fold it in half one more time. Now I've got a smaller square to work with. Now, right at the corner there, I bend the parchment paper. So as you can see, I start to have what looks like a funnel. I put the center of the funnel in the center of my pan to see how big my cartouche needs to be. And then what I'm going to do is simply use my fingers and tear around the edge of what looks like the pan. And that will make me a funnel-shaped piece. Now the last part of that funnel has to be making a little bit of a hole in the center. So I'm going to just take a little bit of a hole in the center, and voila, we will have a piece of parchment paper with a hole in the center. That's going to be put over the fish. Now we're going to add the liquid to this, okay? And if I didn't mention before, the fish is going to go presentation side up. So the presentation side that you're serving is going to be on the top, all right? Now, we're using a 50-50 combination here of Sauvignon Blanc, which I will put in first. And we are going to add vegetable stock. They mix together. We have everything in the pan. We're going to take up the diced tomatoes and we're just going to put them on top of the fish. On top of the fish. That adds quite a bit of flavor. This 1 pound of grouper is perfect for 2 people, possibly 3 if you're not that hungry. And the last thing is going to be the thyme. So we sprinkle the thyme on top of the fish. And if you have a gas stove, you have complete control of the temperature. If you only have an electric stove like we have here, you just have to go down to what is going to be a simmer. You can start a timer. This is going to be 20. And the presentation looks absolutely fantastic.